Hello, this is Mad Cat, and welcome to another edition of Dicks and Boobs Smash the Matriarchy.
Boobs and dicks.
Oh yeah, it's boobs and dicks, isn't it? I just woke up, leave me alone. Had to do the show early today because someone has to get a tattoo during our show, our normal show. God, selfish much? It's always about you.
Of course, I'm a woman.
I'm crabby when I wake up in the morning, so you know. So we are having a little bit of technical difficulties. Unfortunately, Modern Medusa's camera just wants to be a bitch right now.
Yep.
She almost wasn't on the show. That's how screwed up everything is. And if you saw my video yesterday, my computer is like on its way out. Now her brand new computer is on the way out. I guess the internet just hates computers right now, so beware. But thankfully, we do have a backup pair of boobs on the show today. Reading Wren, or Wren reading.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am, well, I want to say fantastic and lie to everyone, but I just established that I'm a cranky morning person. So can you tell us a bit about yourself?
I'm a fellow YouTuber. I also do anti-feminist, anti-SJW stuff, along with reading bad erotica.
Yeah, I should start doing that. Someone's supposed to be reading a fan fiction of this.
Well, maybe you should read my erotica then. I mean, I'm not saying that I've written erotica. I'm not going to say that I've published under a different name because I haven't, but you should definitely read it.
Send it, bro.
It's one of those things that I can't have it under my actual name because it might affect audiences of my usual work that I've published under. So it's actually a fairly common practice.
Well, yeah, pen names. You know, a lot of erotic art authors who do certain kinks will have separate names for separate kinks, just because you can't have the same thing. You know, different audiences like different things.
Well, also that, you know, what if they want to write a different genre? There are some erotic authors who write children's stories.
And that too. We can't write children's stories and adult fan fiction and have them both published with the same name.
In fact, I remember once there was this show that featured God, I can't even think of his name. His name is Ron something. He's a porn star. Ron Jeremy. Yeah, there was a kids program that featured Ron Jeremy as a villain, but they didn't list him as Ron Jeremy because obviously it's like, hey, there's a porn star. And what people don't often know is that he actually has a degree in education and was a substitute teacher before he got into porn.
Yeah.
So, little random facts for y'all there. Let's go ahead and get the articles flowing. I'm actually prepared today. I know I've been a mess lately, but today we actually have a show and many articles. All right, so we're going to start off with an interesting one that makes me proud to have enjoyed porn all of these years. Utah lawmakers nix comprehensive sex ed, so porn site steps in. So the Utah legislature recently rejected the idea of adopting a comprehensive sexual education program instead of the state existing abstinence-only curriculum. So porn site X Hamster has decided to take matters into their own hands. This week, the website began redirecting web traffic originating from Utah to a non-explicit subsite featuring sex ed videos.
Well, if anyone knows about sex, it'd be X Hamster.
consume the most porn per capita of any state, but have some of the lowest levels of sexual education. We're here to change that. And this is actually a really great thing, and I'm like surprised that no porn site really has stepped in before with this. I mean, I guess it would be like encouraging children to go look at sex, even though we know they already are. But I mean, let's throw some education in there about this stuff, an actual education, and not the ones that children. Well, and I'm like putting a fine line here. Children shouldn't be looking at sex, but they should also be getting a sexual education. Someone needs to foot up the bill for that. And public school, it's hit or miss oftentimes with this.
Well, it depends. Public school will frequently either do the abstinence-only bullshit, which is, don't have sex. It's the best answer. Now, yes, not having sex is the best, does not necessarily always doesn't lead to pregnancy and stuff. But at the same point, you're not teaching the kids about things like, say, birth control.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it makes sense for Utah that they'd probably have the lowest because, well, Mormons.
Yeah. Well, I love the abstinence only. It's like, you know what? I had sex before I was ready and I was miserable, and you shouldn't do it because I'm telling you shouldn't do it, even though I decided not to do it for myself. And it's like, they always find someone who's a hypocrite of saying you shouldn't have sex until you're ready.
Or it's super religious and they're slut shaming, like little girls who have sex. Girls, if you have sex before marriage, you're a slut, and you've given away too much. It's like, ugh, whatever.
Yeah, my mom wasn't very happy when she found out that I wasn't a virgin.
Yeah, I wasn't happy either.
Oh, yeah.
It's also the thing that I hate is like, well, if we tell children about condoms, that'll just encourage them to go have sex. And I'm like, no, it'll encourage them to have safe sex.
Yeah. You'd rather hear your kid's not a virgin than, Mom, I'm pregnant.
So, yeah, this is a pretty short article, and that's pretty much the meat of it, is the fact that X-Hamster is stepping in where the Utah legislation failed. And I think this is a really great thing, and I'm happy that X-Hamster is doing something about it. Because, we need an education in this stuff, and if we want to deal... I mean, this country right now seems to be up in arms about the whole abortion thing. But, one of the ways that actually reduce abortions is to give girls an actual education instead of like, well, if you do it in the water, then the sperm swims away. It doesn't get in there. Can't get pregnant if you do it in a lake.
Oh God, I've heard that before, but I never believed it. The first thing I used when I had sex, Saran wrap. Because all of the goddamn fucking convenience stores were closed, and it was after a dance or homecoming or some shit like that. We were like, fuck. So we just used 2 layers of Saran wrap, and it did not work. You ripped right through it, and somehow I did not get pregnant. So yay! But yeah, no, I mean I knew about condoms. I just didn't have the resources. Goddamn small towns and the early closing fucking Rite Aids.
Yeah, but I like the reasoning too in this article. It's like, well, most kids are now using porn as sex ed, so let's give sex ed. Which is kind of sad that a lot of kids now are getting sex ed talks through porn.
I didn't know there were giant dicks until I watched porn.
Yes, but unfortunately they're only in
Porn.
Oh no, I've seen giant dicks.
I haven't seen mine.
Oh god. Yeah, I've been spying on you.
Yeah, that's what I call it. God. That big.
I used to call my vagina Satan, so.
You call it what? I didn't hear you.
Satan.
That's only once a month. That's only once a month.
I don't get periods anymore, so that's not true for me. But back then, yeah.
All right, so our next article, it pissed me off, but for not the obvious reasons. But apparently this guy thinks that it's time for a Women's Rights Day.
Isn't there already a Women's Day?
Well, it's the Women's International Day that's officially sanctioned by the UN, even though International Men's Day is not.
Isn't there also like an International Women's Suffrage Day or Women's? I'm pretty sure there is a Women's Rights Day. It's the same day as Dog Day, National Dog Day.
All right. The fans of George Washington and Abe Lincoln may feel slighted because the late president's birth dates have combined into one President's Day holiday. But what about women who have yet to have a special day that calls attention to their struggles for equal rights? Well, last I checked, but George Washington and Abe Lincoln did not call forward for equal rights for men.
No.
I mean, certainly Abe Lincoln is often associated to the civil rights movement, but
he used freeing the slaves as a political tactic to get more people on his side. That's kind of, it was a political move. It wasn't necessarily a altruistic move.
Right. A majority of our population is being ignored each year when we honor our great citizens with holidays, because those days recognize men. We don't have one holiday that pays tribute to a woman, except, of course, Mother's Day. But Father's Day complements that. Really? Have you seen TV lately? Every year for Father's Day, we get, remember your mother's on Father's Day.
Yeah.
No, I remembered my mother on Mother's Day.
Well, have you looked at the gifts that people suggest? Like Mother's Day, it's like buy your mom diamonds, buy your mom a spa day, buy your mom roses and this and that. Father's, it's like, hey, have you thought about a tie?
Oh god. Yeah, no. Remember, I don't know. I think I heard it with you, Mad Cat. I'm not really sure, but I heard it before. This one comedian, he talks about oh, it's Jim Jeffries. He was talking about how you fucking get like shit gifts on Father's Day, but on Mother's Day you have to like pay for all the gifts that you have to give the mom. And he was saying like, you look at the shitty ass cup that they made in school that says like I love you, Dad, and he's like, you actually appreciate it because you're like I didn't have to pay shit for this.
Yes.
Well, take a look at holidays and think about it. New Year's days are neutral. Martin Luther King Day was a male civil rights leader. Abe Lincoln and George Washington were presidents, and we know that they have been all men. St. Valentine's was a man. Memorial Day honors our soldiers killed while fighting in wars, though women have been killed in the line of duty until recently. Oh, the way he words this is weird, but until recently they were not permitted in combat. 4th of July marks the signing of the Declaration of Independence by a group of men. Labor Day begins as a union holiday to honor the working man, and Columbus was a brutal male explorer who hardly deserves a day of recognition. Well, I kind of agree with Columbus Day on that one.
Yeah, I always thought Leif Erikson Day should be a thing since, well, yes. Vikings were kind of the first ones here.
Yeah.
Columbus kind of came here by accident.
Where's Native Americans Day? Nah, there probably is one.
There is an Indigenous People Day. I think they have a month, actually.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I should take advantage of that.
Almost every ethnic minority has a month. There's an Asian American month. There's Black History Month. There's an Indigenous People Month.
There's Idiots Month. I'm sorry, that's Feminist Month.
Yeah. And I believe there's also a month for Hispanics as well.
But, let's analyze some of these real quick. Okay, like, yeah, New Year's Day, that's neutral, fine. Martin Luther King Day, I'm surprised he even brought that one up because, yeah, he's a male, but it's also civil rights that affected both men and women that were minorities.
Yeah, tell BLM there shouldn't be a Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm pretty sure they would fight you on that one.
And, of course, he has to put in, all presidents have been men. Are you sore that Hillary didn't win?
Salt.
I mean, the fact that a woman could have gotten as far as Hillary Clinton, which wasn't the first woman to have done that before.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on one second.
Dog barking.
Coach, shut the heck up.
And not such an Valentine's Day. Last I checked, that was a women's holiday.
Oh yeah, yeah. They were just saying in the chat, women have a special day. It's called Valentine's Day. We just had a Valentine's Day stream on my channel, where we watched. Let's see. We watched. Sorry, my memory's a little stupid when I wake up. But oh yeah, we watched Bill Burr, a snippet of his comedy, and fucking this one video where this guy on the news, he came on and he was telling men to like boycott Valentine's Day, and this one reporter, she was like, yeah, he wants to boycott it because men spend like twice as much as women on Valentine's Day, as it should be. That's what she said. and then the other woman, she was like, I don't know, I guess either a guest or another newscaster, and she was like, who broke your heart? And I think that men enjoy giving women gifts. It's romantic and blah blah blah. And it was just funny seeing them go back and forth.
Well, I want to say about St. Valentine's Day is that, yeah, St. Valentine's, and I'm sorry if you've already said this, but yeah, St. Valentine's was a man, but we don't celebrate the man on the holiday. I don't turn on the news and see like some Catholic church doing a vigil for St. Patrick's. It's always, I don't even think anyone does anything for the patron saint Valentine. I don't even know if he is a patron saint, but I wouldn't be amazed if he was.
He is. He's the patron saint of, God, I was raised Catholic, but I don't remember what he's the patron saint of. I know he actually is a saint.
He's the patron saint of Bodhi.
Possibly.
But, I mean, we don't actually celebrate the man itself. It's like saying that, and he goes on to talk about Easter as well. Like, well, that's just about Jesus Christ, which is a man. It's like, yeah, but we don't actually celebrate Jesus Christ on Easter. That's what we're supposed to do, but we don't.
Well, think about it. St. Patrick's Day.
I might have gone to church on Easter like 2 times in my life.
Most of my life. But, good example. Think St. Patrick's Day. When's the last time you actually celebrated St. Patrick on St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah.
Or
it's just drink a lot and wear green day.
It's an glorified drinking holiday, even to Catholics.
Hey, for me, St. Patrick's Day is the day that I eat corned beef.
And drink Guinness.
If I can afford it. Thanksgiving probably should be seen as a gender-neutral though most of the folklore surrounding it refers to the male Indian Squanto helping the pilgrimin with the crops. Well, yeah, because the women were out there doing the crops.
It's like they think history is sexist. It's her story.
Which is a national holiday and religious holiday, honors the birth. Oh, Christmas is a national holiday and honors the birth of a male spiritual leader. I love that he does say honors the birth because, yeah, Christ wasn't born during Christmas.
No, it was a pagan holiday that got taken over so they could basically fold in all the pagans without getting rid of their holidays as a way of enticing them to join.
The fascination with men probably shouldn't be surprising since it took the government nearly 140 years to grant the women the right to vote. Yes, but it also took the American government 100 years to grant men the right to vote.
Yeah.
There wasn't a big gap between when they finally allowed all men to vote and all women to vote.
Yeah, wasn't it landowners for a very long time? Unless you were a landowner, you couldn't vote.
Pretty much, yeah. And then states started to reverse that, but the last state in I want to say 60, it might have been 55, but in at least 1855, it was the last state that finally said, okay, all men can vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then like 5 years later, they passed a law that said that all black men could vote that were freed slaves.
Yeah, and not to mention women's suffragette movement didn't even want black men to have the vote. They wanted white women to have the vote, specifically rich white women to have the vote first, and then everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably why they didn't fight against like the poll tax or literacy tests being a requirement for voting.
Yeah.
And we never hear about these issues. And yeah, they were fucked up that it was happening. But why wasn't women suffragettes fighting against that? Oh, that's right. They didn't want black people to have the right to vote.
They didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And the poll tax meant that you could vote many different times as long as you had the money for it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that the founding fathers were ignorant of the notion. Our greatest early first lady, Abigail Adams, gave her husband John a clear statement of what the new young nation ought to be doing for women. Referring to drafting of the new code of laws, Abigail Adams warned, "Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. If particular care and attention were not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will hold ourselves bound to obey the laws in which they have no voice of representation and will not hold ourselves." I don't know if she actually ever said that.
I don't know, because there's a lot of writings on Abigail Adams, and yeah, she was basically the person who backed her husband up a lot. But I don't know if she quite thought that way. Or if she did say all men would be tyrants if they could, she probably was referencing more how they set up the government to make sure that they wouldn't have a situation like with a king.
Right.
Which would probably make more sense.
But the men didn't listen. But today we can make up for the oversight that has been marked for more than 220 years of American history. And at this point in history, women are reaching a pinnacle of influence and power, despite and as a result of the November election when voters thwarted the chance to put a woman in the White House for the first time. We didn't thwart a woman being put in the White House. She lost herself. She did that all on her own. And then it talks about the Women's Day marches going for Roe v. Wade on Trump's inauguration. Let me skip to the part that really pissed me off. Writing in the New York Magazine on Sunday, Amanda Hess said, "Women led the resistance, and everyone followed. A March for Women managed to crowd a broad opposition force onto its platform. In this moment, it happened that women were the one-tenth large enough to contain almost every major strain on the protest against Trump. Now Women March organizers are calling for a general strike, a day without a woman, at a date to be announced. Perhaps such a strike should be set for the first week of August, which would be a good location on the calendar for a Women's Rights Day. An August date that could serve as a reminder that our men of power for generations held women at bay by denying them the basic democratic right to vote. Yes, the long battle for women suffragettes finally ended on August 26, 1920, after enough states ratified the 19th Amendment. Well, many states prior to that did allow women to vote. That's something that's also missing from history. At least 20 of them allowed it, and it was probably a good chance that had the 19th Amendment not come along, most states would have allowed it.
Yeah, because women could have the right to vote because of land ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not even just that. A lot of states actually started to allow just female citizens to vote.
Yeah.
Most of them were of the new states coming into power. I believe Utah, Wyoming. That's the only two I can think of right now. But pretty much anything that was west of the Mississippi started to allow it.
Yeah.
But even then, New Jersey allowed it in 1790. And it was abolished 20 years later. But for a small time, New Jersey was the only state in America that allowed women to vote.
Yeah. So it had very little to do with your gender. It had a lot more to do with, just what state you were in.
But here's the thing that always bothers me about this conversation. It's like, we need a Women's Rights Day because women got the right to vote. And it's like, why is that your only litmus test for why there needs to be a Women's Rights Day? Why is it that the women who got the right to vote are being put on a pedestal? I mean, voting is necessary for democracy, but there are other things women have done that should get your respect, and they're somehow missing from the conversation. And first woman right off the top of my head is Marie Curie, who won I believe she was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, but she's also one of the only women to have won 2 Nobel Prizes. Now, the second one was shared with her husband, but that's still an achievement right there. Why is it anytime there's any discussion about women and their accomplishments, she is missing from the conversation? And her field of study on radiation affects our current lives today.
Because that requires talking about a woman who worked for her recognition and actually put in the effort, versus talking about a group that basically employed domestic terrorism to get women the right to vote.
I'm glad to see that we're putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. I really am. We don't need Andrew Jackson on there. I mean, I know why he was put on the $20 bill, but he is also a very bad person. So, yeah, let's put Harriet Tubman on there. I'm happy with that. But, another person we could talk about, I've been studying a lot lately, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Test. Something that was developed in the 50s that is currently used today by major corporations to figure out if their employees will fit within whatever job position they're being put into. That was designed by 2 women, neither of which had a degree in psychology, and created something that is still widely used today, never mentioned.
Well, it's because those are women who actually did something. Again, they want to talk about what what always bothered me about talking about the suffragettes constantly is that they were bored housewives who are rich, who had enough money, whose husbands made enough money that they could stay home, and they are put up on a pedestal as these great activists. Well, they had time for that activism because they didn't work.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want a Women's Day, I wouldn't even necessarily be opposed to that, so long as, you did it to celebrate actual women who did something worthwhile. Hell, let's give Madame Curie her own day. I'd be in support of that. She won 2 fucking Nobel Prizes. In fact, her family has won a total of 5 Nobel Prizes, and that's never happened before or since.
Then there's also the woman who helped discover DNA, who got her, I believe she got her Nobel Prize posthumously because it got found out later that 2 men actually stole her idea. One of the few times it's actually proven. And she posthumously got a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. I mean, it's just all about the women getting the right to vote, which most women don't even practice today. And yes, I understand that voting is necessary to being a part of a democracy, but it's not even that big of a deal, in my opinion. And I'm boo how I said that, but men barely got the right to vote before women did. Blacks barely got the right to vote before women did. Native Americans actually didn't get the right to vote until after women did. The only way a Native American could have gotten the right to vote is they first said, okay, I'm not a part of my Native American tribe anymore. I'm a U.S. citizen. And then they could vote. It wasn't until the 1950s, I believe, that said, oh, well, you can still be a part of your tribe and be a part of this country. Mm-hmm. And I disagree with that it took so long for that. But no, women getting the right to vote, that's the only thing we care about.
All right, sorry, never mind. Rosalind Franklin, who helped Crick and Watson for discovering DNA structure, actually was never awarded it. She's just credited posthumously. She never got. Yeah, the correction on there.
Should she? Well, let me ask you this: should she have been awarded it though?
They're saying that it's an article from I remember the name later. In most articles about her, they're saying that her work was critical to it being discovered, so she should have been posthumously given it. She wasn't.
You see, and that's something I would support feminism on if they fought.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, if her work was critical to it, and there's actual proof of that, it can be demonstrated, yeah, let's give her a fucking Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah. Not Peace Prize, but chemistry.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on from this. I'm going to skip one article for now because it's a little bit of a long one. We're going to talk about the one biggest issue facing American women today that gets ignored. Many of the struggles facing American women in 2017 seem to be finally getting their mainstream due. They've been getting their mainstream due for the last 20 years. Shut up. With millions of people attending women marches worldwide last month, there's evidence of great support and attention for issues facing women, from reproductive rights to general health care concerns. Clearly, we still have some inequality issues to work on, and women are not being quiet about it.
When have feminists ever been quiet?
But while restricting abortion access and blatant mansplaining are easily identifiable issues, one of the biggest problems plaguing American women today that gets ignored is subtle sexism. It's those comments or actions that you feel in your gut are wrong, but that seem too innocent to confront.
Let me just say that those happen quite often for men. Much more often than I see for women.
Oh, well, but you're forgetting something. You can't be sexist to men because sexism requires that you have power.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't you think power plus privilege is now being applied to sexism too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and racism.
Yeah, you have to be an oppressor in order to commit sexism. And if you're not recognized as an oppressor, which I think women should be, I say that with 2 women on my show, that unless you have the oppressing power, you cannot be sexist.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I hate you because you're a man, but I'm not sexist.
No, just prejudice. There's a difference. Apparently, marginalized groups can be prejudiced, but they're not racist and or sexist. That's only a white man's thing.
So,
Why is this brand of sexism treated any differently than more overt sexism? Because it's harder to call out. It's that gray area where doubt can still safely exist. If you choose to raise the issue, but can't convince the offender that they're being sexist because the situation has ambiguity, then you're told that you're being high-strung and are accused of making a big deal out of nothing. Yeah, you probably are. So she gives an example of subtle sexism. I am a manager, and the other day I had to speak with an employee about something he did wrong. This man, who is 15 years older than I am, and he felt it appropriate to walk away from me, not once but twice, while I was reprimanding him. I was left wondering whether this behavior was because of his rude personality or if he felt that he could get away with it because I was a younger woman. But if I were to call his actions out as sexist in my male-dominated workplace, I would be laughed out of the room.
Yeah. You could make an argument for ageism, that he's older than you and goes, you are 15 years younger than me. I think I know what I'm doing better than you. But that wouldn't be a sexist thing.
The only reason why it would be sexist is because she's a woman.
But then again, I'm sure there's plenty of people who have, who are older, who've had to deal with younger people in HR, and they don't all the time respect it because they think they know better because they're older.
Well, and I just have problems with HR as a whole, and most people do.
Yeah.
That when we have to deal with someone in HR telling us that you're being reprimanded because you didn't do enough. Like, I've done call center work, and I've had HR reprimand me. It's like, well, you have an reprimand against you because you had too many transfers. I'm like, well, the other call center keeps sending us calls, and we have to keep transferring them over. Well, the HR person can't do anything about that. They don't even understand what's going on. If I'm going to be reprimanded, I'd rather it be my boss.
Yeah.
And someone who actually and even then I hated when my boss did it because it's like, well, everyone else seems to be doing it just fine. It's like, yeah, they're cheating the system. They're telling them to call back. How is that customer service if we're telling them like, oh, well, just go ahead and hang up your phone and call this number, when I could just easily transfer them? And people just hate bureaucracy. And this guy walked away from me. You know what? If you're in a position to fire him, fire him.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And if someone walks away from me and I'm reprimanding them, you better believe that, I'm going to reprimand them further. And if I can't fire them, I'm going to make sure that someone who can, instill some fear into them can. And if that still doesn't work, fire his ass.
Yeah.
Have some fucking backbone, my God. And it's not just about respect in the workplace. There is a persuasive and problematic narrative associated with motherhood that stems from a place of subtle sexism. Women are a very diverse gender, and mothers in turn are the same. The only defining characteristic that all mothers share is the fact that they are mothers, which is not a personality trait. Yet there's a certain perception of being caring, gentle, and moral that's automatically assumed of mothers. Then you haven't met my mother.
Yeah.
I don't make any assumptions about mothers. In fact, if a mom, and this is going to sound bad of me, but if a mom is not married and she doesn't have a stable relationship, then I'm going to assume that she's going to be a bad mother. Because chances are she's going to be.
There's something to that. I mean, I've been married for almost 11 years. I do have children, but the kids have always kind of been the traditional mom and dad household. So they've had that, at least that nice foundation to grow up with. But yeah, single moms, my mother-in-law was a single mom. I don't begrudge her. She was divorced. It was not a good relationship. She's now happily married again and with someone who she really does love. So, like, if I hear divorce mom, I kind of go, okay, there's problems in a relationship. It was probably for the best. But yeah, if I hear just single mom and never married, it's like, what's the story there?
Most likely she got drunk one night, hooked up with some guy, didn't use protection or use saran wrap, and got pregnant. And decides she don't need no man in her life.
Yeah, even though kids do need a father.
And I think your kids are probably very lucky that they have a two-parent system. Although I had a two-parent household and it was hell. So, I mean, I don't make an assumption that all mothers are caring.
Not all. There are some moms who are bitches.
I actually rather assume, and maybe this is wrong of me, that people shouldn't be parents at all. Especially the millennials, especially people growing up today, they shouldn't be parents.
I go off personality. If you're naturally a very nurturing person, yeah, have kids. You can do it. But if you're not naturally very caring or nurturing type people, you end up with, like, my mother, who's the opposite of me. She's, I'm going to go with strict, very, very strict Catholic as a description, and most people can guess how she acts. So incredibly, incredibly, incredibly judgmental.
Did something happen to Medusa's boobies? Why does she need a boob armor?
I don't know.
Medusa, is there something about boob armor that you need?
She has no idea. She has no idea what they're talking about.
Okay, so, but when you bring up that people assume all mothers are caring and good, you may be met with, well, why is that a bad thing? That's not a negative comment, so why be bothered? That offense comes from the assumption that motherhood is a one-dimensional experience and mothers can't be nuanced people. So, yeah, I do think it's about making a big deal out of nothing. Subtle sexism is just an excuse. It's just like internalized misogyny. A woman, if she says something disparaging to another woman, it's that she has internalized misogyny. She's not aware of what she's doing.
Yeah.
And subtle sexism it's just as bad as overt sexism, even though it's just a minor thing.
Yeah.
So someone says that all mothers are good. They probably base it off of their experience that their mother was good. And it would have a hard-pressed time imagining anyone else being bad.
Hmm?
What would you prefer? to be like me, to be a cynic like me that just automatically assumes mothers to be bad unless they prove otherwise? Because trust me, that wouldn't be a very fun society to live in. We try to find the good in people, so of course we're going to see that mothers are all good.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's like that one Asian chick who argued and got mad that Stephen Colbert made a joke that all Asians are smart.
Yeah.
Why the hell do you want to argue that stereotype?
They just want to argue. And that's where subtle sexism comes into play, is it's just wanting to get upset about something. Like the video of the girl in a college who tried to cut off the dreadlocks of a white male in a hallway because, oh, that's racism. You can't have that because that's my race.
Tell that to some hippies, because there are a lot of hippies who do that too.
And while true that the Russians did it, so what? The Vikings did it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I went up to people and started cutting off their parades and I was like, that's a Native American thing, you can't fucking do that.
So, Vanessa, what's this about boob armor?
I don't fucking know. Someone just started saying that I need to protect my boobs.
Your boobs are your greatest weapon. You don't hide that shit.
Good point.
Thrax lets us know that he's met some dumb Asians. Well, if we consider Arthur Chu an Asian, although that would mean that we have to recognize him as human, then yes.
Yeah. Well, there are some dumb ones, but going back to that stereotype, the ones I knew, I had two friends who were Asian in high school, and they were stoners. So they weren't the smart ones. But at the same point, they never argued that stereotype. They went, yeah, all Asians are smart. Uh-huh. We're all smart.
And how about all black guys saying they have a big penis? Because all black men have big penises. They don't seem to mind that stereotype.
Oh, yeah. I would love for some SJW to say that stereotype should go away for the rise of all the black men going, nope, that stereotype stays in place.
Okay, so we're going to move on to my favorite article of today. And we're actually doing pretty good with time today, so we might be able to get through all of these. So I'm on Everyday Feminism. Don't worry, I have an ad blocker, so they're not getting any money off of my visiting.
Good.
What does multigender mean? 10 questions you may be afraid to ask, answered. I'm not afraid to ask any questions about this. Probably my first question is, what happened to you in your life that you have to be such a special snowflake?
Why do they have to describe the photo of a person wearing a gray beanie and a tank top?
A person.
And then describes
Not
how their
man.
hand is. It's like, I think we can see that. You don't need to describe the photo.
Well, you know, isn't a person a derogatory term? I mean, what if he's like otherkin?
Right?
Oh, good point.
You just assumed his personhood.
Yeah.
What would you even call someone? A being? But then if they identified as like air, then
I identify as an abstract concept.
Yeah, and you can't even say a biological being, because what if someone's what's it called where they're like robot kid or something?
yeah.
I haven't heard that one, but why am I not surprised? There is an infinite diversity of genders in the world. No, there's not.
Two.
Each person has a totally unique interpretation and relationship with any gender they inhabit, and there are at least as many genders as there have been humans who have lived. Wow. You realize that if we've had probably, what, 100 billion, would that be a fair assessment of how many people have ever lived in the world?
Yeah.
100 billion different genders out there.
I hate to burst their bubble. There's only 2. Ooh.
I say at least because, as it turns out, people can embody more than one gender in their lifetimes. We can even embody more than one gender at once. We can experience them as full and independent or as partial and mixed. Yeah, there's a term for that in psychology. It's called multiple personality disorder.
Yeah.
So I have a question. How would they react when people ask them, like, like, oh, remember when you were demi-gender, polykin male thing, and then do they get triggered, or do you have to like ignore all the other genders that they've been and just focus on like the present one and make sure you're always using the right pronoun?
No, Medusa, what happens is you talk to them 10 years later and you go, do you remember when you were demi boy flux, polykin? And they stare at you like, that was a phase. I was on Tumblr and I was 19. Don't ever mention it again.
Oh, no, I'm going to mention it because you made sure I use the correct pronoun.
Oh, God.
That's the look, that's them, 10 years later when they've had kids and their kids are going, Daddy, I found your Tumblr blog. And they're going, oh, fuck no.
Well, there was a story recently I thought I heard about where a woman, a transgendered man, wants to have a baby before they transgender over their next gender. They want to start out as a woman, have a child, then turn into a man and have a child.
Mm-hmm. England also now says you have to say pregnant people. You can't say pregnant expecting mother.
Oh my God, what?
Well, to be fair, with that transgendered man, that might be the only way men could actually have children these days without the state getting involved. You have to pay child support, but the child lives with me. You still have to pay it. To who? To the mother.
Wow.
And that shit happens.
Well, that'd be funny. Can you imagine them, like, they pay the money, they get the check a week later. They pay the money, they get a check a week later. It's like, eventually even the state goes, we're saving on the paper. Just deposit the money in your bank account.
Well, no, but there have been situations where a man still has to pay child support to the mother, even though he has full custody of the children.
Oh, yeah. There have been cases where a kid was basically raped by his teacher when he was they said early teens.
13.
13. She got pregnant, and then years later, when he turned 18, he got hit for child support even during the 5 years he was a minor.
Yep. It happened in Arizona.
Yeah, and even though she had been convicted of the crime as well. So it's like you're paying your rapist child support. This doesn't feel right.
Imagine if it was reverse genders and a male rapist stole the baby that he took from a 13-year-old girl. He
impregnated them,
he got her pregnant, stole the baby, and then fucking asked for child support later.
The courts, if the courts were to allow that, I'm pretty sure feminists everywhere would have their heads explode.
Yeah, they would pretty sure they would literally find him and murder him.
Yeah.
All right, so let's continue on with this article because it's about to get good.
Oh, fun.
Genders can overlap and negate one another. You can have genders negate each other. They can be positive or negative, fixed or in flux, and they can coalesce in any number of combinations. Are we sure we're not confusing protons with genders? The idea of having multiple genders is new to many and downright frightening to some. It's time we advance the mainstream discussion of multigenderism beyond just the absolute basics of is it possible? Yes. No, it's not. Well, actually, it's possible to be born both a male and female, but that is actually very rare. They used to call them hermaphrodites, but now the social justice warriors want us to call them intersex. I don't really care either way, but...
The medical community actually changed it to intersex as in the diagnosis. So I think that more comes from the medical community. Okay.
But yes, that is possible, but that's extremely rare.
Yeah.
And technically, if you're... you can't, like Jamie Lee Curtis, she was born as XY, even though she's a female.
Mm-hmm.
That's technically a multi-gender person, but that's also very rare.
Yeah, and that's usually like all outward signs show you're a woman, but like instead of ovaries, you might have testicles up there, right. Which does happen, and it's weird. It does happen though. But again, really, really rare.
Is being multi-gender different from being transgender? No, it's not. Oh, that's a load of bullshit. People who are multi-gender or polygender fall under the umbrella of trans. Being multi-gender doesn't necessarily mean that you'll make any physical transitions. It also doesn't necessarily mean that you are disidentified with your assigned gender. Multi-gender people can identify with or even present as their assigned gender, but because they also identify with one or more other genders, they are still included as transgender.
Why does this sound like a cop-out for the I'm trans, but I'm gonna keep dressing like a girl even though I'm a girl, keep dating men, but I'm trans and you have to respect my pronouns?
Well, the problem I have with this, and even before I knew multigender was a thing, you know, they kept saying that being trans is a third gender. It's like, no, it's a transition from one gender to the next. I mean, maybe you could make an argument that a trans person during, you know, when they're going through all the surgery and all of that, could technically be labeled as two genders since they're going through the actual transformation.
I could see that argument.
For a time. But it's basically going from one gender to the other. There's no third option there.
Nope.
It's like saying that water is in multiple states of being frozen and liquid, even though you're able to drink it. Either it's frozen and you can't drink it, or it's liquid and you can drink it. You can't have two states of matter. At least in water. I don't know if that's actually true as far as science goes, but as far as I know, you can't have...
Yeah, water's technically steam, water, or steam, liquid, solid.
Or plasma.
Yeah.
Although I don't think you want to drink plasma water.
No.
But, you know, the other thing is they keep using the phrase assigned gender.
Yeah, it's because doctors are evil and they assign gender at birth. Because if you have a penis at birth, you could still be a woman, right?
Congratulations, ma'am. It's a baby. Why do you assume ageism? Why are you ageist against my child? Because it is a baby? No, it's a fully grown adult. Okay, ma'am, I'm going to get you a psych ward. Why is this distinction necessary? It is necessary because it's true to life. No, it's not. Many people experience more than one gender, and the fact that they do deserve recognition. We all have the right to name and define our experiences. Well, that is true. You can name and define your experiences. That doesn't mean that everyone must accept them.
It doesn't mean we have to listen and or respect it. But you have the right to define it.
To explore and assert our identities without intrusion or manipulation. Except that you're trying to manipulate everyone around you to accept your delusions.
Yeah.
Finding language that conveys the specifics of our identities is helpful in developing self-understanding. Well, and in communicating our realities to others. Discovering or sometimes creating the best fitting term for you is truly an act of a radical self-love, and one that diversifies societal perceptions of gender. That's a manipulation right there. You're trying to diversify societal perceptions of gender. Manipulation. You just said manipulation was bad, and what you're trying to do is manipulation.
And am I the only one who remembers that self-love used to just be a term for masturbating?
No, I still use that often. But yeah, it's the... Look, you know, if someone wants to define themselves as a special gender, fine, whatever, you know. If it fulfills some psychological need, and I'm not using that as an insult. Everything we do is psychological. But if it fills some sort of psychological need that makes them feel better about themselves, have at it. Just don't expect the world to accept it.
Yeah.
If I say I'm a Mutant Ninja Turtle, you know, I'm the 5th member, you know.
So you're fiction, Ken.
You know, I could say that I'm Picasso, the 5th Ninja Turtle. And, you know, no one's going to accept that. They're going to laugh at me. I have to accept that people are going to not take me serious when I do that. I can't expect people to take me seriously when I do shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how much I believe it.
I've done I've responded to a video before of a girl who's fiction kin and thinks she is the daughter of Spock and Kirk.
Wow. There's so much wrong with that.
She also thinks at one point she was Mad Max and that she was a wolf and a couple other things too.
Boy, I blame you, Modern Medusa, for the dogs barking.
What did I do?
You had the show early. All right, so, but let's move on because there's a question coming up that's just going to be so wonderful. How does multigenderism relate to the gender binary? Multigenderism is fundamentally anti-binary, whereas the gender binary is singular and exclusivist. Our dominant culture wants us each to conform to a single gender, the gender assigned at birth and no other. Well, wouldn't multigenderism also allow for someone to be a single gender? I mean, if multigenderism is inclusive, then and it allows us to pick whatever gender we want, shouldn't it also include the binary?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, it's like, no, you can't be the binary because that's what everyone else wants you to be. You have to be multigendered. You have to be at least 4 genders.
You have to be a demi-girl attack helicopter kin.
How multigender identifies relates to genders of male and females depend on the multigender identity in question. Some multigender identities relate only to the 2 binary genders, such as androgyny, which means male and female. Thank you, I know what androgyny means. Others include one binary gender, but not the other. Yet, others include both male and female, along with 1 or more additional genders. There are also multigendered identities that exist totally independent and outside the gender binary. How do you have sex then?
You don't.
These people are living sad lives.
What's up?
These people are living sad lives.
Yes, they are. They're
Can
living-
multi-gender identities include neutral, negative, or partial genders? I don't see why not. And if you're going to have like over 100 billion different genders, some of them have to be negative. It's a law of averages.
Hmm?
Yes, with the exception of genders that are appropriated from marginalized groups. See below. That's the one we're going to get to soon, but let's wait to discuss that one. Multi-genders can include any type of gender imaginable. This extends to identities such as agender or neutros, which refers to having no gender, demigender, which refers to having partial gender, or anti-gender, which is the opposite of another gender, like anti-girl.
So, boy.
No, not boy, anti-girl.
But anti-girl is boy.
No, you're not getting it. You're not a girl, but you're not a boy.
So you're agender.
No, anti-girl.
Okay. Tumblr hurts my head.
I just have a thing on the side that says, no, trans women are not biologically male.
Yes, they. Yeah, that's Riley Dennis's argument.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Is there a limit to the number of genders a person can have? Nope.
Of course.
What pronoun should I use for multi-gendered person? The answer to the same is the same as everyone. Ask and then use whatever pronouns you're told to use. So, Modern Medusa, what pronoun should I use for you?
Me?
Yeah.
Snake, snack, and snoot. Those are my pronouns.
So if I say that you're very snooty, is that an insult to you?
Wow. You basically just rate me, and
Oh.
So yeah, it's a long conversation, long talking point for just say ask and then use whatever they tell you. Okay, so are multi-gender identities static or fluid? They can be both. Some multi-genders involve multiple gendered identities that do not change. Other multi-gender involves moving through single genders at one time. I used to buy into this whole gender fluid bullshit. I mean, I used to be in the BDSM community, and this was before I got into all of this. And I knew a girl who said that she was gender fluid, that she felt that she could be a male or a female at any time, depended on her personality. And I considered her a friend, so of course I bought into this bullshit. But no, gender fluid.
Yeah.
I could understand personality fluid. I mean, if you said you're a Gemini and you have two personalities to you,
Yeah.
I could accept that.
Oh, I got it to work. Sorry.
You okay there?
Yeah, I had to fucking uninstall the entire thing and reinstall it. But yeah. I'm good.
Oh my god, we can see you again.
Yeah.
Double boobs.
Yeah.
Okay, now you two kiss and make up.
Don't you
Or
kiss
just kiss. I don't really care about the making up. All right, so here is having multiple genders appropriative.
What?
That depends on the specific multi-gender identity in question. Many genders are culturally specific, including some multi-genders. A prominent example of a culturally specific multi-gender is the two-spirit genders of some North American indigenous groups. Because it's impossible to access these genders without being part of a specifically cultural context, it's inappropriate for outsiders to claim any two-spirit genders. Multi-gender identities can encompass many gender identities at once. If any of these genders include culturally appropriate, then overarching identities can become problematic. Pangendered people, in a literal sense, identifies as all genders. The problem is that all genders includes culturally specific genders that are not appropriated. I mean, that must not be appropriated. Many transgendered folks are sensitive to this, however, and identify it as all available genders. Some have even moved away from the term towards maxi gender, as maxi as in maximum.
Okay, so does this translate to, on Tumblr, so many people created so many different genders that they even started infighting as to which one was problematic, and then decided they had to come up with new ones so they wouldn't be problematic anymore, until that term's now problematic and they have to come up with an even different one.
Yeah. I don't know, it just kind of makes me think of string theory, in all honesty. When you when you start with the first dimension, the second dimension, third dimension, clearly defined, and then you start getting into these higher dimensions, and then you come to a stopping point. It's like, okay, where do we go from here? We've explored all the possibilities. Let's just start making shit up.
Oh, I like how some gender identities are exclusive to intersex people. Intersex is a medical condition, which is rare. It's not a gender.
And why does anything have to be exclusive to anyone? Like, are people identifying as like fucking Afro gender or like Mexigender? Like, is that like racist to identify as a specific gender or a specific race and gender at the same time?
No, now you can be trans race.
Yeah, like Rachel, whatever the fuck.
Rachel Dolezal and the guy who just signed on with TYT.
Sean King, I believe?
Sean King. They're trans race because they're trans black.
Hang on.
Well,
Even if they say they're black.
Michael Jackson was trans white, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What the fuck? Okay, hang on. Sean. Is he like really tan or something? Because I remember him being really white.
He's pale. He's fucking pale as all hell. Though I love how there's.
So is he white or black?
He's white. He has white parents.
He's white, but anytime he appears on camera, it seems like they do like After Effects and like turn the contrast and brightness down so it looks like he's darker.
I love how there's a healing from toxic whiteness training thing.
Oh, you haven't seen my video on that?
I've seen it. I've seen it before. It looks like shit.
Yeah, I actually got into the class on healing from toxic whiteness.
You got into class?
Well, there was a free webinar they had, and I recorded that and then discussed it on my channel with another person, and then displayed the actual thing by itself without any commentary.
Wow.
But all it was just an upsell to buy their course for $300, which is what all webinars are nowadays. If you hear about a free webinar, you can be assured you're going to be upsell to something.
Wow.
So, yeah, we have pangendered. You can say that you're all the genders ever, except the ones that are culturally appropriated. Shouldn't we just naturally assume if you say you're pangendered, you mean all the ones that are available? Why do we need a specific term now for maxi-gender? I figure maxi-gender means that you're like a maxi pad.
You sexually identify as a maxi pad, yes.
You like to be shoved up into bleeding vaginas. Hey, some people are into that shit.
I know. It's gross.
And apparently Thrax is letting us know that his cock not being sucked is problematic. Okay.
Same.
My cock not being sucked by either of these women is problematic. One is married and the other's in a relationship, so, you know, I have to suffer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a problem for a lot of men.
Our
At least I'm serving one man. Doing my part for the patriarchy.
are multi-gendered people oppressed? And yeah. Yeah, we know they are. And here's a list of some multi-gender identities. Armor gender, gender that changes in response to romantic partners. Mirror gender, genders that change to reflect those around you.
Tumblr.
Ambigender, two genders experienced simultaneously as equal and unchanging. Chaos gender, gender that's highly unpredictable. You know, back in my day, we used to call that women. Gender fuck, a subversive gender that can be singular or multi.
I want to be that.
Demi-fluid, that sounds disgusting. Have multiple genders that are fluid, while others are static.
I'm demi-fluiding all over the place.
Cold gender, not pangender, but having too many genders to describe. Yeah, I have like a bajillion genders, but I can't describe them all. You just have to accept that that's true. Endogender, having multiple genders that all relate to a specific gender construct, such as mask fluid.
I.e. male or female.
Cyclogender, gender that changes with hormonal cycles. Now, back in my day, we used to call that women. Disgender, having highly despairing genders, as in fissured.
Makes no sense.
And this is only like a small sample list. Here's a lengthy list. Of course, it's on Tumblr.
Where else? Oh, I've seen this. That's the Tumblr list.
Vosgender, a gender that is weak and hollow. Yeah, back in my day, we used to call that women.
There's a lot of genders. A lot of genders.
A lot of fake genders.
Well, yeah. A lot of fake genders.
Apparently, armor gender. Stop appropriating my armor. That's what I was thinking, too, when I read that. Isn't gender fluid when women get wet? Thank you, Sato Christ. Good to see you for the show. He always has problems getting onto the show on time. Usually he's like the last 5 minutes, so it's good to see him. All right. Why withholding sex from men might make them support women's rights.
No. Just no.
Because manipulation is bad, unless we do it. Rise up, ladies. Might as well make a statement that will cut this anti-women political crap short. So what about when women are anti-woman? Are you going to withhold sex from them?
Yes, because we have internalized misogyny, and that needs to be cured.
by not having sex with women.
Yes. We just have sex with all the men that those women aren't having sex with.
And the universe is in balance. Right now, there's a major movement going on that's attacking women on multiple fronts. There are attacks on women's health care, including movements banning birth control, abortion, and even defunding organizations that help with STD screening. You're talking about Planned Parenthood, aren't you? You could just say Planned Parenthood for that and covers all of that.
Mm-hmm.
There are movements on a global level that are trying to decriminalize domestic violence. There are even politicians currently in office that have gone on record saying insanely misogynistic things without even blinking an eye. Okay, so the first one is referring to Russia. And I forgot who sent me this. I think it was Elizabeth Hobson, great chick, who sent me this, that apparently what Russia has done now, which I think is a good thing, is that if you commit domestic violence, you will not go to jail for it. So long as you don't commit another act of domestic violence for a year, for 12 months.
Okay, so basically, drunk guy does something stupid when angry and drunk, can get counseling, but if he doesn't do it again, he just learns from it and moves on.
Right. But
That's
of course,
fair.
Yeah. Of course, feminism has a problem because it's like, it's legalizing domestic violence. It's like, no, it's not. It's still illegal.
Not to mention, think of, there are women who are arrested for domestic violence. That means even the women for a first-time offense can get help, wait a year, and get better instead of having a criminal record.
Or they can commit the offense, wait a year, and commit it again.
Yeah, or that. But you know what?
I guess that'd technically be birthday spankings, right?
Yeah. But you say, what wife beater is really going to wait a whole year before he beats his wife again?
I mean, there is the Christmas spankings. Too many men have made the decision that they are entitled to our bodies, our money, and the right to decide how we live. Too many men have unilaterally decided that women are the enemy and the sole people who should be punished for having sex.
The punishment thing is either BDSM or MGTOW. One group fun, one group stupid. Two, our women's money? Isn't that wrong? Women have the right to the men's money, according to feminists. Not the other way around.
Kind of like a money laundering scheme. It's like men have to give all money to women, and women own all of their money. So if they steal money from men, it now that becomes their money.
Well, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine. That's the way marriage works on a woman's side, right?
Right. That's why I hate you, because you're a married woman. Women would be foolish to sit there and take all of this with a coy smile on their face. Speaking of coy smiles, reading Wren. There's a coy smile.
Well, all that internalized misogyny.
We would be stupid to sit there and expect the way we're treated to be different because it wouldn't happen to us. No, you expect to be treated differently because you have a vagina.
Yeah.
No, we need to put our collective feet down. I suggest that we start going on a sex strike against any guy who is vocal about supporting anti-abortion, anti-female health care, or better yet, let's just all stop having sex until a good point is being made.
You know what, millennials? Go for it. You stop having sex. That opens up the market for all the rest of us.
Here's why withholding sex would work. It'd force a lot of men to put money where their mouths are. So many guys seem to think women are evil, that women are whores, that women deserve to be punished for sex. It only seems fair to just remove the perks of having women in their lives. We'd be doing them a favor. After all, since they hate women so much, we're being good by not sleeping with them, flirting with them, or talking to them. Why do you assume that people hate women? Because they don't give you free shit? That if a guy doesn't buy you a drink in the bar or pay for your health care, that he hates women? That's basically it.
Yeah.
These women want the free abortions without the guilt of having an abortion.
These women want to do whatever they want without any consequences. The problem is the real world doesn't work that way.
Yeah. It gives them consequences for their actions, but not you. Right now, guys don't have any consequences for their anti-female legislation that's being passed on their accounts. If they knock a girl up and she can't get an abortion, he can bail at any moment with a decent chance of never having to pay child support. Bullshit.
Yeah. See example we said earlier of 13-year-old boy who was raped by a teacher and had to pay child support when he was 18, even back due child support for the 5 years he was a minor.
The only way a man could avoid paying child support, especially if it's told by the state he has to pay it, is if he goes on the lam. If he gives up every comfort he has in life and decides to live off the land where no one can find him, that's the only way.
Or if he signs away his parental rights.
Even then.
Oh, true. Even then, they still make him pay child support.
Yeah.
But then you can't see the kid.
Yeah, the state can still go after you. Hell, the state can go after anyone that a woman names as a father. It doesn't even have to be the biological father.
Yeah.
So, yeah, men pay consequences no matter what when they have sex. Anything from a child being bored to having to talk to the woman afterwards. Like, damn it, woman, I just want to sleep.
This is why ball gags are usually a handy little tool.
I love you. You there, Vanessa?
Yes.
Oh, you have to get going?
In a little bit because I have to drop Jaylee off at the DSS or some shit.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you know, like I said, we have the backup boobs, so if you get back in time, that's fine, but I know you have like an appointment in an hour, so I understand if you can't make it back.
Feel free to continue on without me. I just I should probably get ready before I forget.
What, you're not ready now? Let me guess, you're not wearing pants, are you?
I mean, I don't need pants, but I need shoes and other extremities, so.
That is true. Women tend not to need pants.
All right.
All right. Thank you for being on the show, as always.
Yeah, thanks, Wren, for coming on. Maybe we can have you on my show sometime, too.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Later.
Yeah, Wren is easy like that.
I'm home all day.
So am I. All right, so sex might actually become something special to guys again. I'm sorry to say it, but guys really don't seem to understand the risk that women face when they have sex with them. By the way, this link doesn't really lead to anything. I've looked, I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? And it's just a series of articles about sex. Most of it is just inane stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They also seem to think it's something they're just entitled to. This has to stop, and I can't think of a better way than collectively stop sleeping with men. Well, here's a thought. If you stop having sex with men, then how do men learn to value sex again?
Not to mention, most guys do value sex. It's a very small minority that don't think sex means anything. Also, what about the risk men face? STDs aren't only carried by men. Women have them too.
It'd also make abortions less prevalent. Granted, no one would be born if we all stopped sexing it up, but hey, that's okay, right? Well, that's true. If women stopped having sex, there would be no abortions. There would also be no births.
Yeah. Again, that's going under the idea that women are all one giant collective that would do this, because there would be a large group of women who go, fuck that, I want to get laid.
Well, they have other women and dildos.
Yeah,
I mean,
but a dildo
feminists would try to
isn't the
convince us
same.
that's better than a penis.
Yeah, it's not the same, though.
Yeah, because, you know, a penis is like nice and warm and squishy, and if you try to put a dildo in the microwave, it just doesn't come out the right way.
A dildo also doesn't buy you dinner.
Now I'm starting to think of an erotica story where a dildo buys a girl dinner first. A self-aware dildo.
Yes.
Men who don't want women to have rights don't deserve love. Would you show love and affection to people you know who want to hurt you? I guess you've never heard of angry sex. Every time you sleep with the guy who says women don't need healthcare, rights, or autonomy, that's what you're doing. These men don't deserve love and should stay solo until they start seeing women as people. First off, I don't know of any man out there who says women don't deserve healthcare, rights, or autonomy.
Yeah,
They might say they don't deserve abortion, that abortion is wrong because it's murdering children, which is up for debate. I'll admit that. But they don't say that women don't deserve healthcare altogether. Who says that?
I've heard guys say, like, mostly single guys, say they wish that, you know, healthcare plans were a la carte, so you buy what you need, and you don't necessarily pay for, like, a single guy paying for a guy for the ability to go to a gynecologist doesn't make sense.
Right.
But it's not denying women healthcare. They're just going, look, I'm a single guy. Can I just pay for an emergency room and maybe my once a year checkup and that's it?
Yeah. But I would agree with you that if someone was that vile, yeah, you shouldn't be having sex with them unless you're into that. But
a guy that vile sounds like a straw man who hasn't existed since 1700s.
And even then, the upper class.
Yeah, and even then, the upper class, straw man. No guy like that exists.
Again, because, you know, President Trump decided that, you know, Mexico doesn't need America to pay for its abortions. Somehow, all men hate women.
Yeah.
You know what? The issue of abortion is a fickle one that requires a lot of discussion, but I don't support paying for another country's abortion when we have our own people sleeping on streets.
I don't think we should be sending millions and millions of dollars, you know, for aid for countries all the time when we do have, you know, an infrastructure that is falling apart. You know, worry about ourselves first and then fix everyone else.
Women don't really need guys anymore. It's true. We don't. We don't need them to make a baby. We don't need them to financially support us. We don't need them to tell us what to do with our bodies. If men are going to behave like we're the enemy, as a gender, we'll gladly stop pandering to them.
Okay, then do away with the child support laws.
Oh, yeah. But technically, that's not true that you don't need them to make a baby, because where do you think sperm comes from? Even if you go to a sperm bank, where do you think that sperm came from?
Magic?
Yes. It's an easy way to make a point. Men cannot control our gender without consent. If we refuse to back down or refuse to accept the way they behave, they'll have to rethink the way they're doing things.
No, they'll just turn gay. Or watch porn.
Or find a woman with internalized misogyny.
Yeah, that too.
It'll hit men where it hurts. You'd be shocked at how important sex is to guys. It's also important to girls. If you want to see men buckle, just withhold sex, love, and affection. So basically be a bitch. They'll quickly begin supporting women's rights because the alternative is pretty bad for the long-term health. You know what? I mean, they have the joke that, men couldn't not have sex. In fact, I think there was like a Seinfeld episode about that. Although, if I remember correctly, Elaine also lost the bet on that one.
Yeah.
But, if women as a whole just said, okay, we're not going to have sex anymore, men would feel challenged. And I think most men would last longer than women on the issue of sex.
Are you kidding? Prostitutes would start making a killing because prostitutes wouldn't stop doing what they're doing. They'd go, hi, if you pay me, I'll let you fuck me.
If anything, the price for prostitution would go down.
I could see either going up or down. It would depend.
Well, it depends, but because it's more available, the price of being a hooker, the value actually goes down. But plus, you actually open up to a wider range of customers.
Yeah, unless I could see it going up only if they got all other women who aren't prostitutes to stop having sex altogether. And then if you only had a finite amount of women who are willing to have sex for money, they could start charging ridiculous amounts because they're the only ones willing to have sex. So it could go either way. Either the price would go down because more availability, or the price would go up because not as many women.
I'm looking at the chat. Very good points that you have there. I'm looking at the chat right now. And Wikipedia snippet, I'm disappointed in you. You say Dildo Dragons defeats Sauron by tossing the ring into Mount Doom. That's the cock ring into Mount Doom. Come on, if you're going to do some porn parodies here, do it right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think this will be the last article for today, which was submitted by our Miss Wren here.
It goes right along with no sex.
Don't believe Playboy's latest attempt to pretend its nudity is progressive and cool. And this, of course, is on Slate, so,
Yeah.
Naked bodies are back. I hear the angels singing. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Yeah, no, it's 1 year. They lasted 1 year of non-nude issues before they went, fuck it, bring back the nudity.
Playboys that didn't what's-his-face sell his mansion because he was losing out money? Hugh Hefner?
Yes. They sold the mansion in Chicago, and they've been, I think, he's still, it's up for sale, the big Playboy mansion everyone knows, but it has the caveat that if you buy it, Hugh Hefner will still live there. He's just your roomie.
Well, I don't know. I would probably like him as a roomie if he gets all the hot chicks.
Yeah, true. It's like, I'm throwing a party. It's like, well, all the really famous people and the hot chicks will be there. Sure.
And that increases my chances of getting laid.
Yeah, if you have the money to buy a Playboy mansion, hell yeah.
Although, the only downside is that hot chicks don't try that hard in bed. I want a woman who's there with me. I don't want just a dead fish laying there, you know?
No. Hot chicks will try if you're rich. If you're rich, like rich enough to buy a Playboy mansion, they will try because it's like, you have money. I have to try harder to get at that money.
Yeah, I'm sterile. I'm not really, but if I was that rich, I'd be sterile. The Playboy's attempt to quit nude photo spread didn't last long. The magazine published the first non-nude issue in its 63-year history in March 2016. So they didn't even last a year.
Nope.
And just 1 year later, it's reversing course. Cooper Hefner, founder Hugh Hefner's son. Wow, he copulated? And
a lot.
I didn't realize he actually had children. I just thought he was a long-term bachelor. And the company's new chief creating officer, well, way to keep it in the family, if you get my meaning, tweeted on Monday that nudity will return to Playboy in its March-April 2017 issue. I'll be the first to admit the way in which the magazine portrayed nudity was dated, but removing it entirely was a mistake. No, it's not dated. Out of all magazines that featured nudity, Playboy was very artistic.
Playboy was middle of the road. You had Hustler on one side, where Hustler was porn. Didn't make any bones about it. Then you had Playboy in the middle, which was artistic but still porn. Then you had Penthouse, which was straight up artistic porn, but really classy done. So it was a spectrum. Playboy was right in the middle.
Yeah, that's a very good assessment of it. I mean, if anything, it empowered women.
Yeah.
House and Playboy. I guess Hustler too, but, you know, as we said, that was more on the porn side of things. Well, I think porn does empower women, but on the argument that porn doesn't, Penthouse and Playboy still empowered women. It showed the beauty of women.
Yeah, whereas Hustler was, we know what you want to wank to, here you go.
Nudity was never the problem, because nudity isn't a problem. Today, we're taking our identity back and we're discovering who we are. If nudity was never a problem, then why did you remove it?
Feminism, and I think that some panel had something to do with it, because I know Hefner's daughter also works for the company as well. So, you know, who knows who actually came up with the idea. They might have thought because of feminism, they try to appeal to the feminists, because Playgirl appealed, didn't it?
What was that?
They did for a while try Playgirl, which involved a semi-nude men.
Yeah. I know Playgirl existed, but I don't know anything about its publication history at all. You don't really hear about it, so...
It just failed. It didn't do well.
Hefner took his spot at the top of the magazine's creative team in October after half a year of issues that still showed women's naked bodies. But with their genitals and areola covered in strategic places, placed benign body parts and objects, the new back-to-nude Playboy will bring back nipples but keep vulvas out of the picture. A departure... Oh, God. I mean, yes, if you're going to show tits, show the areolas. I'm looking at you, Wren. But... I mean, it's not really nude if you're still covering up the vagina. Yeah, it's topless.
And Playboy's kind of had that thing. That's why there was always a difference between Penthouse and Playboy. Penthouse always showed full nude.
Well, I've seen full nudity in Playboy. I've seen, like, pictures of a girl's vagina in Playboy before. So, but the fact that they're not bringing it back after this long year stint, it seems more like a compromise than it is, yeah, we were wrong. It's like, well, we took away nudity, but we're going to include nipples again. But so that everyone's happy. The men get what they want, and the feminists sort of get what they want. And it's like, no, you're not apologizing for shit. You're still trying to appease the feminists who are not going to buy your magazines in the first place.
Yeah.
And this is the problem that we had with Marvel. And guess what? As you said, Disney is coming in and it's like, no, you're going to start making money again.
Yeah, we want maximum profit. Give them what they want.
We bought this company for the profit. So you're going to start making profit. Don't like that? Who cares? We're your boss.
And the mouse is evil. Evil corporate mouse.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Marvel has basically gone back to writing superhero stories again. No more of this social justice bullshit.
Money talks.
When Playboy announced its intent to go never nude in 2015, isn't never nude the condition from Arrested Development? Then CEO Scott Flanders blamed the shift on the internet. You're now one click away from every sex act imaginable for free, he told the New York Times. And it's so just passé at this juncture. Removed exposed genitals from the magazines allowed the production to be placed more prominently on newsstands and find readers in country and military bases that didn't permit pornography sales. So basically you became Maxim?
Yeah, I was going to say also, doesn't that have more to do with, the slight puritanical trend that started in the U.S.? Because if you think about it, if you go somewhere like Germany, there are porn mags where everyone can see them. And German porn is weird. So you can imagine the stuff that you could buy and see that they don't think is a big deal. Whereas in the U.S., if you see a nipple, it's suddenly like this taboo thing.
According to Thrax, the chat was silent, so he concluded that people are thinking, listening, or wanking. But as John Dingo puts it, can't you do all three at once? Well, I'm reading, thinking, and wanking. So. I mean, I'm talking about nudity with a hot chick. I mean, come on. I have to be wanking at this point, right?
You just know they're wanking if they go anywhere near my Tumblr, or not Tumblr, Twitter. I don't have a Tumblr. Thank God.
I used to, but, there was a nice men's movement on Twitter. Not Twitter.
Tumblr.
On Tumblr. You got me doing it, damn you.
Didn't help. We were just talking about Tumblr genders.
Yeah, when I first got into the movement, I was a little bit big on Tumblr, and there was like a nice collection of people on there, but I just got tired of being angry all the time, so I left Tumblr. The new version of Naked Playboy, I think naked should be put in quotes, is trying to market itself as pseudo-enlightening, classic enterprise that views nudity as beautiful, natural part of human existence instead of a can you say that word for me? I can't say it.
Masturbating aid.
Yeah, there we go. That's what Playboy's always been. Sure, they knew people wanked off to it, but they still were very classy with it.
Yeah.
This month's cover model, Elizabeth Elam, is photographed with naturally looking makeup, bad head, and a subdued pose that doesn't immediately call to mind a sex act. She doesn't look like she has bad head. Unless that's not the person you're mentioning.
Who the hell considers that bedhead?
And she's wearing makeup. If she's not wearing makeup, then they've done some touching up.
That's natural makeup. That's the not crazy makeup, but the more natural tones. But still, that's fully made up with your hair done. No woman looks up like that. No one.
A video interview with Elam asks whether she's turned on by a slew of random things, including Jonah Hill, tube socks, and pepperoni pizza. Planned Parenthood and self-proclaimed male feminists get the thumbs up. She's turned on by Planned Parenthood?
That's a bit macabre. Unless she has a medical fetish.
So, Wren, are you turned on by tube socks and pepperoni pizza?
No. I like those things when I have a joint, but that's a very different night. That's usually comfy, wearing something comfortable and eating pizza while smoking a joint. That's not a turned on thing. That's a... No.
It's great seeing you, Seda Chris. I hate to see you have to go, but thank you for being a part of the chat today. Like I said, he always gets in at the very end, so it's good that he can get in on the early show. Okay, this appears to be a slight deviation from Playboy of yore, whose covers were reliably inhibited by big, shiny hair, fake breasts, fishnet, fingerless gloves, and pantsless women grinding to one another's hips. Yeah, on the downside?
It depends on the area you're talking about. If you look at Playboys from like the 60s and 70s, fake tits were not a thing. It was natural.
Models bit things that were meant to be bitten or straddled anything their legs could encircle. The August 2010 issue promised a tribute to Mad Men in the form of an 8-page homage to cold martinis and naked secretaries, which is sort of like celebrating Requiem for a Dream with a spread of women sniffing blow and having anal sex. I haven't seen Requiem for a Dream, but is there an anal sex scene in that?
I think so, but that sounds more like a fetish magazine for the sniffing, blow, and anal sex layout.
That's more of a hustler sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a hustler thing.
Nude Playboy 2.0. Couldn't we call it 2.1 since 2.0 was naked, non-nude?
Yeah.
Seemed a bit attuned to the subtlety and irony. Its aesthetic of sexiness shifted slightly from middle America working class ideal to the less altered natural beauty favored by, shall we say, coastal elites. Nowhere is this clearer than in the inside shot of Elam in the folded up t-shirt, the lighting and weathering fence, say Instagram filter, and the under boobs, say Playboy Mansion. What?
That is weird wording.
Yeah, I think what she's saying is that they've taken Playboy away from middle America working class and tried to give it to coastal elites. Well, if the middle American working class was actually paying for this shit and the coastal elites are not, then yeah, I can see why you'd want to get the people who paid for it back.
Yeah.
We're almost done with this. As part of its makeover, Playboy stripped its Entertainment for Men tagline to welcome a wider variety of readers. And it's trying to align itself with nude positive ideologies like Free the Nipple campaign, proclaiming on the March-April cover that naked is normal. Problem is, naked is normal hashtag has already been claimed by nudists. Movements for the social acceptance of nudity have mostly put positivity at their centers, affirming that all bodies have an equal right to be exposed and that nudity should not be automatically sexualized. The ethos is directly opposed to the mission of Playboy, which is to showcase a narrow spectrum of bodies for the purpose of sexual excitement. Naked bodies are normal and not necessarily sexual. A rail-thin model clutching her breasts by a fireplace is not. Okay, there's a lot wrong with that. First off, free the nipple is a joke because most places in the United States allow women to go topless.
Actually, only like 1 or 2 states. I can see the Free the Nipple campaign.
No, actually, if you look at the laws across the United States, it is not illegal.
Really?
Yeah. There's actually a map that will show you that most states do allow you to go topless. There's only 1 or 2 states that actually have specific laws saying that you can't.
Okay.
So you could, depending on where you are, you have a good chance of that you could walk around topless. Now, it doesn't prevent you from getting arrested. The cops could decide that you are breaking the law, but if it goes to court, the court will simply throw it out because it's not against the law.
Okay. That's the difference.
But for the most part, most women have the freedom to walk around topless. Especially, I think there's a couple of places in Canada where they make a big deal of the fact that women can walk around topless, and they still don't.
For some women, it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, for most women, it's uncomfortable. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to hide your breasts up with clothing, that's perfectly fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to show them out, feel free. I have no problem with that. But don't get at me for sexualizing them. I mean, you talk a lot about kinks and fetishes, and so do I. And you and I both know that someone could have a kink and fetish for just about anything.
Yeah, from feet to, well, asses and tits are the most normal, most prevalent. Some people it's feet, some people it's legs. I mean, it's, really a mixture of what, depends on what someone likes, depends on what they do.
Is Igor under the desk? Okay, interesting.
No, no, he's not. Alas, he is at work.
So, but I just hate this thing. It's like, oh well, the problem is that men sexualize body parts. It's like, so do women.
Yeah.
If a man walked around completely nude, some women would be disgusted. It's like, oh, I don't want to see a penis, and other women are like, hey. But in both instances, they are sexualizing the body part.
Well, for women, it's usually broad shoulders and muscles tend to be the more common, sexualized. If a guy has broad shoulders, muscles, and big hands, that's a different story.
Well, yeah.
I will agree. The dick is not the prettiest looking thing, though.
No, it's not. Thank you, God, for that one. Why do you think I don't believe in you? Didn't you just make the whole thing smooth? Why did there have to be that whole bump? And it's bad design. You could do better.
Yeah.
But you can't control what I think. You can't control how I feel. So why do you demonize me for it? If we're supposed to say that being naked is normal, and we shouldn't demonize people for wanting to be naked, and that they should feel comfortable, why demonize me for wanting to sexualize any part of their body?
Because male privilege?
Yeah, that's the excuse they give. I'm sexually turned on by a smart woman. If she can demonstrate that she is intelligent, I'm very turned on by that. Is that now wrong of me to do that because I'm sexualizing her?
No, it's not. I mean, not to mention they're kind of simplifying sexual attraction.
Yeah.
You know, guys can be attracted to both big tits and an ass and, you know, intelligence all at the same time. It doesn't mean that, you know, say the dumb one who happens to have big tits and an ass isn't any less attractive. It just means they might not date them.
It's very true. I mean, I've tried dating dumb chicks, and I mean, sure, the sex was nice, but I mean, what? Sex is 1 hour of your life every day. What do you do for the other 23 hours? Well, maybe you have 8 hours of sleep, but still, you're awake all that time. I need a girl who can keep up with me in conversation. I mean, she doesn't have to be as smart as me, but, you know, hell, I actually prefer chicks who are smarter than me, truth be told.
Exactly. People are very complicated by nature. They aren't just the sexual attraction. They also are, they want companionship. They want affection. There's more to a relationship than sex.
Yeah. And yet these, I mean, the last 2 articles have basically described men as just sex fiends, that's all they want. That's all they care about. And it's not true. Yes, we want sex, but so do women.
Yeah.
But we want more out of life. I mean, we want as you're saying, we want the companionship. We want the closeness. We want the camaraderie. We want someone there when we do something good. We want to share it with them.
Yeah. People want more than just one thing in a relationship. Hookup culture may limit relationships down to just the sex, but those are people who don't really want relationships. They just want to hook up and they're done. That's a very different thing.
And even then, that's a small subset of society.
Yeah.
I mean, usually it's teen boys growing up that don't want a relationship, which is probably good. They shouldn't have a relationship. Just get their dick wet and move on.
That's hormones. Even teenage girls can be that bad.
I presume you're speaking from experience.
Yeah. Teenage girls can be just as bad.
But, you know, and some people never grow out of that, but most people do. And, you know, I really hate, you know, these sex positive, well, there's sex negative feminism and sex positive feminism, but they all seem to have this same mantra that men being horny is bad. When in truth, men being horny is what made Playboy what it was. It's what made porn what it was. Hell, men being horny is what gave us internet security.
The thing about men being horny is what led to Playboy actually getting some of the best writers to write articles.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just the nudity. It was also learning how to be a true player or gentleman, whatever. How to pick up women, how to act. It was more than just the...
Eventually, Maxim became like that, at least at first. I don't know anymore. Kind of stopped reading Maxim when it just felt like they weren't trying anymore. But when Maxim first came out, it was such a great thing. I mean, there was an article on how to hypnotize a lobster, which is a neat trick to do at parties, apparently.
It's different. It's a different trick.
You know, it had all sorts of information, but yes, they had images of women who were practically nude. They were clothed enough that they could sell it without it being an issue.
Yeah. Like I said, it's one of those things of feminists are trying to oversimplify things, and some things just can't be oversimplified.
Right. No, I agree with you on that one. It's something I often talk to a lot of writers about that, but people in general, it's that when you take something complex and simplify it, you lose something in the translation.
Yeah.
That we need to understand the complexity of something. I even go as far as to say that what's lost in that translation is what we writers should be writing about. What makes us unique, what makes us complex, is what makes life life.
Yeah. Well, they do the same thing with like historical figures. You look at, there are certain characters that have people in history that have been oversimplified. Going back to Columbus, he has kind of been simplified to this. He discovered America, when in reality he actually didn't, and he was, per his history, actually kind of a really, really horrible guy. But then you have other people who people label, he was a slave owner. Reality was, it was the time period, and they also worked to free the slaves. And so it's this huge mesh of life isn't black and white. Sometimes it's shades of gray. So
or for gay, it's shades of the rainbow.
Yeah, or shades of the rainbow. It's different. Life is not always simple. They just don't like that.
Exactly. They take as many cheap shots as they can without acknowledging the complexities of it all.
Yeah.
And we can't look at life as black and white. We can't look at history as black and white. And yet what they end up doing is creating caricatures of what really happened to support their narrative.
Yeah.
Oh, we have President's Day, but we don't have a Women's Rights Day. It's like, there's a reason why we have President's Day. Even celebrating Washington and Lincoln, two very important people throughout history.
Yeah. Well, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, very important in the civil rights. And President's Day, wasn't that simplified so every president didn't get a day? It was just like, let's put it in one day.
Pretty much. Well, it's like Lincoln and Washington have birthdays in February, but they're days apart, so they just combined them into one, and then they said it was for all of them.
Yeah.
And don't we also have, like, Secretary's Day? I mean, that's not exactly gendered, but it was kind of designated for women.
Yeah, not to mention what they forget with the Labor Day. Labor Day, there are female unions. That was a day set aside for union members.
Right.
Not necessarily just men. There were female unions as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually non-gendered or neutral to begin with.
Which dates back to the 1900s itself. There were female unions back then. Mm-hmm. Because poor women were required to work. Children were required to work.
Yeah.
Just to make a family go round. And eventually they decided that, and that's why women were paid less as well, because they knew that men were also working. Well,
it also depends on, I always hated the women, women get paid less because patriarchy thing, because there's a lot of factors that go into that. There's maternity leave, when women aren't there for a few months. There's the fact that women who have kids take time off or leave at 5 o'clock, and they don't work those super late hours. There's the fact that women want flexible time so they can, not be at work this day, but be at work at this day, which leaves men who have to work all those hours, and thus they're getting paid more because they're working more hours.
Right. Because when you take time off work, that means someone else has to do your job. Now, you might have a high-level job or whatever, and that might not be true. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't have a high-powered job. I've had call center work. I'm a blue-collar worker.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to answer phones, and if someone's not there, I'm having to take their calls. And when we have 100 in queue that need the calls to be answered, I'm working non-stop, one phone call to the next.
Yeah.
And it's not because someone's not there, but if someone is not there, that's more work for everyone else to do.
Exactly. Not to mention the other factors of the stupid wage gap study took into account women who, like me, who stay at home and raise kids, who don't technically have a paycheck. So suddenly when you're including the stay-at-home moms, yeah, it looks like women are getting paid a lot less. Reality is you're including people you shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, hell, if you actually included all women, like porn stars, they make a large amount of money compared to men. I bet if you included porn stars into that equation, it would balance itself out.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. When you don't compare apples to apples, you get the result you want.
Yeah.
When you compare apples to oranges, it comes out different.
But that's why we do these things, because we're not going to let people get away with idiocracy. You're going to do something stupid, we're going to call you out on it.
Yeah.
And we have lots of fun doing it, too.
All the stupid ideas that come out, like Valentine's Day is sexist.
No, it is for men.
Well, yeah. What men want costs nothing. What women want costs money.
You know what? I'll tell you what I wanted for Valentine's Day. I wanted the love of a woman to cuddle up next to by a fire while another woman sucked my dick.
Yeah, that's a very nice scene.
Is that too much to ask for?
No. Most men usually want a sandwich and a blowjob. It's pretty normal.
Well, in my home, the kitchen is my domain. So if I'm going to have a sandwich, I'm going to make it myself because I want to make sure it's done properly.
Ah.
Only time a woman comes into my kitchen is to do the dishes.
I'm the opposite. The kitchen's my place. But Igor gets the grill. The grill is his domain.
Yeah, I do love the grill as well. I call it my grill friend. It's kind of sad.
Oh, it's fine. Most men would call it that because, well, while some women know how to grill, that really is kind of guys' territory.
Yeah. And I'll admit that cooking tends to be girls' territory, but, you know, it's an art for me. It's something I really love doing. So, and plus, you know.
I don't think it's so much a woman's territory anymore. There are a lot of men who do like to cook. It's just kind of one of those things of back in the day when, you know, that's how family structures were, where the woman had to stay home if she could, just to save on childcare costs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the home became the woman's domain. You made sure that the house was cooked clean. You made sure that dinner was ready while the guy worked 12 hours to make sure that you had food on the table.
Who had to work in a dangerous job like mining, like gold mining, where there was a very real chance that he went down in that mine, he was not coming back.
Yeah.
He would be dead.
Or factory work, or any number of things.
Or even farming. I mean, farming is not as dangerous, but it's also not as lucrative, which would require him waking up at 6 a.m. and not coming in until sunset.
Yeah.
Working like 12, 15-hour days.
Yeah, and even then, there was a misconception that the woman stayed in the house. Frequently, the woman would also help on the farm in every other way possible, whether it be canning or working the fields just as much as the man.
Like cotton picking. I mean, some people had slaves, but even those who had slaves, they still had women going out there helping out.
Yeah.
I mean...
Were all the children going out.
Even female minors. And we have a record of female minors voting, I believe, in the UK.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we're kind of coming to the point where we need to go ahead and end this. We're going on to our 2.5-hour mark. So,
all right.
Not that I want to end it. I love talking to you, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit afterwards. But
yes.
I thank you, Wren, for coming on to the show.
No problem. It's fun.
I do love that the streams. Are you the one who's doing those streams, like on the weekends, or is that someone
Lords
else?
Anonymous. That's
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
Saturdays at 8 Central.
I may be on then.
Awesome.
No, but I've been on a few of those already, and it's just like, oh, that's so great. I get to meet so many great people, and hearing you talk on that, it's like, oh, I need to have her on my show. She's awesome. Of course, I want everyone on the B list to be on my show. I'm kind of greedy like that, but
Nothing wrong with that.
But thank you for coming on, and I definitely hope you come on in the future.
Of course.
And how can people find you?
I'm on Twitter. I'm also under Reading Wren, so pretty easy to find. I'm channel Reading Wren on YouTube, and I'm also on Minds.com.
I'm on there too, and I just keep forgetting to go. I'm just so busy these days.
Well, there's usually lots of websites like you have to have a Minds and a Gab, and at one point Sea Lion Club and everything else.
I'm also on Sea Lion Club. I just stopped going. I don't even have time for Twitter anymore. All I am is on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook for Reading Wren. Facebook has its own issues.
Yeah, but I've met a good lot of people there, so very supportive. But okay, so definitely check her out on her Twitter and her YouTube. She has a show on 8 p.m. Saturday.
8 p.m. Central on Saturdays, and then I have usually 2 or 3 segments that come out weekly.
I like how she jiggles when she laughs. Yeah, I like that too. I told her right away she has a nice bust, so
Yeah.
I compliment the girl for what she has.
Yeah,
Although I do think, and I will say this, that your brain is much bigger than your breast because you are just superbly intelligent.
Thank you.
See, guys, that's how you give a woman a compliment. All right, so check out the description box down below. You'll find all the articles we talked about, including one we didn't get a chance to get to. You can also find my Patreon down there. My monitor just recently went out, and I have this not so great monitor. It's something. It's better than nothing, but if I have a better computer, I can do better content for you. And my ultimate goal is to get health insurance for myself to deal with my disability. So, I mean, if you give me money for a computer, I can do better videos to earn the right to do better stuff. Plus, I want to do online classes, which would require a better computer. If you're not comfortable doing Patreon, perfectly understandable. There's also my book down below. The first one is free. The second one, which comes like 1 month afterwards, it's only $1.99. So it's a lot of people have told me it's really good. There's some minor grammatical issues there. I didn't have enough money to get an editor a second time. I tried my hardest though. But hey, if you buy that book and enough people buy it, maybe I can get it updated. Who knows? Also, be sure to like this video, hit subscribe, share it with all your friends. I'm almost at 500. I just need 5 more people to subscribe to me, and then I can do my 500 show. No idea what I'm going to do, but if you have an idea, just shout it out at me. Also, check out Modern Medusa's channel. She has her Tuesday show, Cobra Cat. Cobra Cat. Rah! I don't know why I do that, but it just feels natural. So we should be there on Tuesday about 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anything else you need to say before we go?
You can also hit me up on Patreon as well. There are topless photos on there and early access to my videos. Oh, and a certain amount you get to pick the book I read.
Huh, I might have to do that so I make you read my book. But I was about to say, don't donate to her Patreon. This is my channel. You donate to my Patreon, but with topless photos, yeah, go donate to her Patreon.
You donate to both. You donate to both.
Yes, you can get topless photos of me. Yeah, I'll give you a preview. On the Tuesday show, I ended up writing someone's name on my chest with a highlighter. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you, everyone who came out for the chat, and I will see you next week. This is, since Modern Medusa's not here, you'll have to fill in for her. So this is Dix.
And Boobs.
Everyone have a good day.
Bye.